I have one question about the group research we done. In your feedback, you asked us about more details for each one of this formative assessment examples. Can we do like repair for what we already working on, or what?
I mean, would you like to like put into
and I have another.
The line is breaking up, but I'm not really sure from my side or from yours. You want to like put to integrate the feedback and try to submit the paper again. Is that what you're asking for? Mushira, can you hear me or?
Yeah, that's my, and also I need to know, you ask us for, yes, us one, we are different materials, each one. I'm biology, Mr. Osama, computer science, Ms. Manal, English, I suppose, and so on. Each one of us, what one example for our material, or just one is enough?
No, it's just for every technique that you're going to present. I want one example to show how it's going to work in your classes. This is one.
In general?
In general, yes. And another thing, when we're talking about STEAM, you might actually integrate disciplines. We don't have these like separations between different disciplines. But again, if you would like to have it focused on one subject, it's up to you. But what I'm seeking is an actual example from a classroom, how we are going to use this in meeting certain objectives, for example, for a certain lesson.
We already bought this, how using it and how question.
In some, no, in the how, you, in a kind of, you describe the tool because you are going to share it with others in week 3. This is actually the first activity in week 3. That you are going not just to share as you did when you submitted the work with me, but you're going to share it with the rest of the groups, correct? So what you will basically be doing is, maybe I didn't read much about, for example, misconception checks, for example. So you need to tell me, if you worked on that technique, how it works. So this is the how. But the example, like, I'm going to take this tool and I have this lesson in class, and this lesson discusses, or I'm supposed to be covering these objectives, and I'm going to give the students, for example, a particular activity, and this is when I'm going to use the misconception check, for example. Okay, so I have to tell first in which stage is it: pre-assessment, ongoing assessment, post-assessment. This is one, in the when, of course. And then when it comes to the examples, I have to give an actual example in which I'm planning to use it in the class.
Okay.
Not a general description of the tool.
We all use this one at our class with our classes, but with different.
Yes, even if you didn't use them, that's the thing. You have around 50 classroom assessment techniques. This is in one article. In another, you have 60 strategies. So you're not expected to, of course, have applied the tool that you're going to present. No, this is not the purpose. But if you are planning to use it, how are you going to use it in an actual class with actual objectives that you want to cover and what exactly you want to assess?
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's not like a general idea about the tool.
In details.
In detail, take a specific example.
Yeah.
And in the how, as I said, for example, if I tell you annotated portfolios, for example, and this is maybe one of the tools that was explored in one of the groups. So if they don't tell you exactly how it is used, you won't be able to understand what is annotated portfolio, right? So this is the how, but the example is how it would actually look like in a classroom, in your practices. And the when are you going to use it? The pre-assessment, ongoing assessment, post-assessment. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So yes, you can make the necessary changes to the work. I'm talking to the all group, by the way. But again, when it comes to the grading, no, I don't think I'm going to like regrade the submission, the second submission.
Okay.
Okay. طيب, any question?
هو في سؤال تاني for final project.
Yes.
في الفاينل بروجكت احنا اتعودنا من الدكاتره ان احنا نرجع ونسالهم والجزء ده صح ولا لا ويدونا فيدباك خطوه
الفاينل
بخطوه.
بروجكت دي حاجه ثانيه.
اوكي فايتس اوكي نفس النظام.
ايوه الفاينل بروجكت لانه متقسم ستيجز، فانتوا هتشتغلوا على ستيج وهندي فيدباك وهتظبطوه وبعدين يتسبمت.
اوكي.
The final project كمان another thing يعني because I had this question about the groups. So if you want to choose the group members that you want to work with only with the final project, it should be okay with me.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
طيب other questions related to the materials weeks
Yes.
1 and 2? Yes, yes, Mr. Sam.
Yes, and the next week 3, the first activity it's like a peer assessment.
Exactly. So in week 3, which
Yes.
actually starts today,
We will reflect among
no, you will
to each
share.
other.
Yeah, you will share your mind maps with the rest of the groups because the rest of the groups did not see your work. I'm the only one who saw it, right?
Yes. So
you're going
after
to
this
post
session,
it.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
After this session, we share our mind maps.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
If you can share it today or tomorrow, if you want to make any changes, it's up to you. Yeah, if you want to like make some changes to the content that you already have, you can definitely do that before sharing it with the rest of the groups. But this time you're not like receiving feedback from me or a grade from me. You're receiving from feedback from your peers, and you're also invited to check out the other groups' work.
Our mind map just summarize the final the project. We have a file for the project. Mind map only summarize it.
The same that you submitted and shared with me, Mushira, share it with the other groups.
Yeah, okay.
You do have a link to, I think you used Miro, right?
Yes.
Yes, so share the link with them the same way you did with me.
Okay.
But Moodle not open as the sharing actually.
Say it again.
In Moodle, it's only at a submission. I suppose only you, doctor, can see it. Not all
No,
the
dear,
team.
it's a discussion board at the beginning of week 3.
Discussion board in week 3. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
so in week 3, the first activity, it's asking you to share what you basically did when it comes to the classroom assessment tools. Okay, so you will share your work, but this time not with me only, but with the rest of the groups. So share exactly if it was on a file as other groups did, so share the file. If it's a link, share the link. Okay?
Okay.
Take that as a yes. Okay. So any further questions related to the materials in 1 and 2? So no more questions? Okay. So again, let's proceed to week 3 because again you have a very important project when it comes to week 3, and I just want to make sure that you understand the expectations, right? So I would highly appreciate it if you go to Moodle week 3 and check the week project, read it through. I'll give you around 3 minutes to read it through, which is the pair work project. Okay, which has to do with design an authentic assessment plan. So I want you just to read it through and let me know if you have questions.
Doctor, you mean pair work project?
Yes, it has to do with designing an authentic assessment plan. I just want to make sure that you understand that what is required. So let me share the screen anyway. Here.
We will work in pairs.
You work in pairs, and you have the pairs, your partners that you're gonna work with.
And we have a rubric. I see the rubric file for this project,
Yeah, you have
which
the
is week
PDF
3
file.
project.
Yes, exactly. But I just want to make sure that you understand what you're expected to do. So for example,
so
here
doctor,
it's
we are
yes.
supposed to do a lesson plan and the activity that
Not,
we will...
no, not a lesson plan, but here you're requested to do the following. You're going to design an assessment plan, right? So here you're going to use classroom assessment techniques in order to identify the strengths and weaknesses of your students, right? So how do you think you're going to do that? What do you think are the steps? And the question is for everybody, of course.
For using the tools in assessing?
Exactly. So you will use, again, the classroom assessment tools or techniques, or the formative assessment strategies, and for the purpose of, again, formatively knowing where your students at, correct? So again, you will get back to the same materials in week 2. Make sure that it's better, of course, if you explore new assessment techniques and formative assessment strategies. And of course, at the beginning, you have to identify and well phrase the objectives that you want to cover with your students, right? And then based on the objectives, you're going to design the activities that you're going to conduct, correct? So here, if you're going to pre-assess the students' learning, what tools are you going to use? Okay, let me share with you a sample of this task.
So
That was, yes. Yes, Mr. Usaim.
In the first in week 2 we have something called the assessment ladder, which you have 3 types or 3 steps for assessment.
Okay.
The first one is such you the level number 0 or number 1, which is the basic or the first step in the ladder. You are designing your assessment like a rubric, like rubric portfolio. The students will make a portfolio or you check the portfolio. You have to use a checklist and check for the student if he finished this task or not. The second step is the questions or the observation to check if the student learned or not, or the student speak about himself. He say, I learned that I am okay in this step. I am okay in this concept. I learned this concept. I understand this concept.
Yeah,
The third one, and it's the highest in the assessment, which is I teach. So you give the student some task or some presentation or some topic or some concept to teach to the students. So he will prepare and then come in the class and teach this concept. This is what I understand about the assessment ladder. So assessment task or assessment plan, we can use this ladder or what?
Okay, so let me just take some parts of what you have mentioned. First, I have to start off with the objectives, right? Because what else am I going to assess? So I have to, before I design the evidence of learning, I have to first like share with the audience and also my students, what are the objectives that I want to assess in the first place, correct? So you have to identify the objectives first related to your unit maybe, or your lesson, if that's how you want it to be, correct? So here, for example, I'm just sharing a sample. You don't have to do exactly same topics or lessons. No, this is not the objective. But again, I want you to watch out for the steps that you might need to follow. So before assessment comes the the desired results. And this is in the UBD as well, as you have already covered. So as you're developing your understanding by design, or you're applying the backward design in the units that you develop, you start off with, which is the first stage, which is the desired results. So here we're referring to the objectives for sure. So I have to specify the objectives. Because according to my objectives, I design what, again, we're looking for and referring to as the performance task. Here, I'm trying to simulate a real world situation in which the students are going to demonstrate the knowledge and skills that they have learned, correct? And as the students are actually performing and are engaged in a real world or a simulation of a real world context, I can tell whether they actually covered these objectives or not. So so through performance, not memorizing or not recalling information, and again, the objectives, they have to cover both low levels of thinking and high levels of thinking, right? So I have to touch upon understanding and the same as an application as basic levels. And then I have to move a little bit upward in terms of creation and evaluation as well, right? And again, when I'm creating like a performance task, as all of you have put into your post, it has to be a simulation of a real world like situation. And as you have also learned when it comes to problem-based learning, to project-based learning and all of that. So again, it's basically the students trying to take up a role as they would actually do in a real world. So I create to them a scenario. So check out the scenario here, for example, as created by the teachers, okay? And they gave the students a role, and so you are an environmental engineer, and in designing a performance task, and you can do your research on something called, on an acronym called the GRASS. So I have to create a goal for the student, I have to create a role, a real world simulation of a role, audience, other than the teacher, of course, a scenario, and the products that the students are going to come up with. And all of this has to be rooted in the standards, okay? Because as you have stated, Mr. Osama, for example, if I want to develop a rubric, so that includes a criteria of success, so it has to be, again, aligned with the standards and the objectives that I want to cover in the unit or in the lesson plan, right? Yes, Mike? Mike?
I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute myself. So if I tried something like that before, I'm teaching biology, and I was teaching them about drugs, and I asked them to do something like a campaign to awareness campaign against drugs, and each group chose one of these drugs, and they did their own presentation. So can I do something like that?
Yes, please do. I just want to share something with you. Maybe it's a little bit early in the semester, but it's important. Like working on raising awareness is something really good, and it's really important, of course, that the students give presentations and everything. But this shouldn't be the core of our problem-based learning experiences that we're designing for the students. The students have to actually come up with actual solutions to the problem. Like, for example, here they have to use, for example, recyclable materials in coming up with a certain product, as they did over here. So they got rid of the tires, wastes of rubber. This is how they contributed in solving a world or environmental problem. And they put it into use by coming up with useful products, for example. It doesn't have to be plant pots. I'm just, again, sharing an example with you. So again, it's important that they give a presentation, but what is, again, especially when it comes to the STEAM framework, is that they come up with an actual product or performance that through which, of course, you deliver the learning objectives, as well as like asking them to give a contribution. It might be a small one to a world problem that is in the community around them or that they are trying to address. Yes, Maru?
The voice is not clear. I don't know if there is for me only or for the rest.
Okay, you tell me. Was the line breaking up, guys?
Yeah, you were a little lagging.
Okay, when this happens again, tell me like when it happens. Where did you start losing track of what I'm saying?
I lost many of what you said.
Oh, everything?
Just after
No,
my
not
question, you were
everything, but
lagging.
Yes.
yeah, and some
Doctor?
before it also.
Yeah, can you tell me at which part, please? Because I said lots of things. All of it?
Doctor,
Yes.
we need to design something like that, what you presented now.
No, I don't have to design something like that. This is not what I'm asking
Just to
you
have
to
a
do.
great idea and then design the format assessment.
What I'm asking you to do, Jen, is speaking because like May was talking about having a campaign. Of course, having a campaign is important. It's very important that the students prepare like a presentation and work on developing both their presentation and communication skills. But it's more important in the STEAM framework, as I was just saying, that the students create actual products that solve the problem. So when I'm creating problem-based learning experiences for the students, it's not just that the student would give a presentation and of course it's important to change people's attitudes and spread awareness. But again, it's as important that the student come up with a product. Okay, yes, Mr. Osama.
We
Yes,
design this on this one about hair.
this
Yes.
this assessment plan is not in the material of week 3. This is for final project or what?
No, what I'm asking you to do is the following. You're asked to come up with an assessment plan, right? So start off with the objective. If you don't want to write as detailed as a performance task as this one, it's okay. You don't really have to. But what you need to at least come up with is what exactly the students are going to do inside the classroom. What products are they going to come up with? What activities they are going to be engaged in? Why is that? Yes, as May is saying, it should be something tangible. You're right. And not just tangible in the sense of my presentation is tangible. Yes.
So can you send us this file?
No, I can share it with you right away, and you can actually like check it if you wanted the recording. It's fine. It's because it's just a sample. Yeah, it has its positives, but I want you to come up with your ideas, and I'm sure you already do much sophisticated work than that. Yeah. Because these are actually carried out by STEAM teachers, but they are not like working as you do in STEAM or in STEM school. So I'm sure you can come up with more like, let's put it this way, developed. And it doesn't have to be big again. It doesn't have to be big, but I should have the objectives. This is step 1. I should have exactly the activity that the students are going to work on. And why is that? Because in here, this is what you are asked to do in the task, right? You're asked to identify the strengths and the weaknesses of the students, correct? And as you've said, you're going to use the classroom assessment techniques that you already explored, or the formative assessment strategies. So they used, for example, the 4 corners inquiry as a pre-assessment, right? And then they used a checklist, as you're saying, Mr. Osama, in the ongoing assessment, right? And then they used a post-assessment tool. And this is how they could identify the strengths and weaknesses of the students when it comes to these objectives, right? Yes, Ms. Manal.
From 1 minute, you tell us the student make a project, because here in a project with learning. But in summative assessment, no time for make a project. It's usually make project as
there is always time for assessment. There must be.
No, a project we need it to a summative assessment.
Yes, at the very end, of course. Of course, at the very end, the outcome at the very end. But before the students build up, for example, a water purifier, they are not going to do that without a process, without activities, in which you are going
we
to
do activities. And formative assessment, it is not must be a project.
I'm not saying it has to be a project. I didn't say it has to be a project. I'm saying as you're designing your problem-based learning experiences, as you're designing your project-based learning experiences, there are steps, lessons, activities, there are units that you cover, right?
Okay.
So of course there must be space. There has to, and if there is not, there must be a space where I can pre-assess, not just pre-assess at the beginning, during, and at the end, as you have covered in the materials related to weeks 1 and 2, correct? So you're going to pick 2 or 3 objectives, and they don't have to be related to a project. This is not the final project. I'm not saying this is the week project for week 3, right? So you have to tell me what are the learning objectives, what are the activities that the students are going to, it could be an inquiry-based activity or activities. So how are you going to assess the students at the beginning as the students are working on and exploring materials that you're giving them at the end? Yes, Mike?
So it is like I'm doing so many assessments. It's not just one assessment, right? So I have 2 or 3 objectives for a lesson, and I have so many assessments. I should do?
If you are assessing, what are you assessing? If you are trying to assess, the question for everybody, by the way.
So
we're assessing
objectives. Let's talk about the objectives of a lesson. So sometimes I have objectives related to skills. Sometimes I have objectives related to, in the same lesson, related to the scientific content. I'm teaching biology and chemistry.
Okay.
So in order to assess that, it's not just one assessment. I will use 2 or 3 strategies in this week assignment, right?
You have
to
an
assess
activity,
all
right?
The objectives.
You have an activity in which, for example, you're going to check the students, or you're going to give students an experiment in order to explore, for example, concepts related to density or volume or whatsoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
Before they start working on the activity, the inquiry-based activity, you need to pre-assess where they are at.
Yes. So it can be just an activity. It doesn't have to be
any assessment tool. You have many
assessments. Because I thought that I need to ask them to do a project, like in the unit we have a project at the end.
No. You don't have to ask them to do a project.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So just ask them, think of an activity, how you're going to pre-assess, how are you going to assess the students as they're working, and how are you going to assess them at the end. Yes, someone was raising his or her hand. No? Okay. It doesn't have to be a project. It could be an inquiry-based learning activity, any activity, okay? It doesn't have to be, again, a project. This is not actually a project. What I'm sharing with you is called actually a performance task. Okay, so next, as you were saying, so now you could tell the points of strength and weaknesses of the students, correct? Through the assessment tools. And then based on what you have found, whether the students, for example, are advanced, so you need to revisit the plan. So what activities are you going to prepare for the advanced students? What activities are you going to prepare for the struggling students, right? Depending on where they are at, their strengths and weaknesses. So here, this is where you're going to talk about the next step that has to do with what parts of your plan you're going to revise, okay? And then as Mr. Osama stated, because it's an authentic assessment plan, so it should include activities in which the students self-assess themselves. You can do that through checklists, you can do that through rubrics. So you need to design peer learning activities, okay? Do you have any questions so far?
No, thank
you. Okay, so this is when it comes to week 3, that starts actually today. And then as you move through the course, it's going to get a little bit easier towards, I think, week 5 as well, because some of the tasks are to be done individually. Okay, now let's move on to week 5. there is also a task related to week 5 that has to do with designing a rubric, right? It's a case study here. And you're asked to design.
It's individual work.
Here
And
it's
we
an
have
individual
also
project.
about, I think, yes, week 7 also, or week 8 individual work, I think.
Before that, before that,
syllabus.
Yes, between 3 and 4, 3, 4, and 5 as well, there are many individual work and reflections as well. Okay, I just want to make sure that you understand the task when it comes to the case study. So do you understand what the rubric is going to be about? Is that a yes?
Your voice was lagging. Sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry about that. I'd like you to go to week 5, criterion-based assessment. And there is a task that you're supposed to be doing individually, which has to do with a case study.
Hello?
Do you hear me or not?
Hello? So, yes. I checked this, and then there is in the rubric, he concentrated in 3 topics. Come down, please.
Yes.
An essay. The student will write essay, and then they will design multimedia or video.
Exactly.
And the third is the reflection paper of the student on all unit. So can I add more things like punctuation, like work plan,
this is the
like
thing that's I wanted to clarify with you. Here the rubric is for what? The rubric is for
only
the
3
portfolio.
things. Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean the rubric is not assessing the video, and the rubric is not assessing the essay. There could be a rubric for the essay, and a rubric for the video, and a rubric for the reflection paper, right? But here in the task, the final product is what? Is the portfolio, correct? So the rubric is going to be for assessing what?
Portfolio.
The portfolio, exactly.
For assessing portfolio.
Yeah, so don't just put the rubric that is focused, or the criteria of success on the rubric are focused on the essay or on the video or on the reflection paper. It has to do with the creation of the portfolio, right? This means it has to, yes.
Yeah. So the final product, it will be one thing of the 3.
No,
the prototype will be the product will be an essay or a video or a reflection paper, or the 3.
No, the rubric, the portfolio has the 3. But the rubric, yes.
The portfolio will include things.
The
portfolio will include the 3 things.
Yes.
Okay. So,
but I'm not making a rubric for the essay. I'm not making a rubric for the video. I'm not making a rubric for the reflection paper.
Yeah. So the rubric for all the things. The 3 things.
So all these facts are together in one criteria.
Yes. Yes. Each one is like a criteria. So a criteria for a say, a criteria for a video, a criteria for a reflection paper.
The criteria is for the portfolio itself. So this means I should have criteria that, for example, assesses the reflection, how effective was the student's reflection on their work. I should have criteria that tracks the progress of the students. Okay? That I should have criteria related to the development of the artifacts, for example, which are the 3 together. You can add criteria related to punctuation, but the punctuation of the whole portfolio, not just the essay or the reflection paper.
But here, so we will select criteria for the essay and same thing for the video.
No.
So the criteria will be common.
No, it will. All of these together are the products inside the portfolio. So if I want to develop a rubric for the essay, it would be a separate one. But my rubric here in the task is assessing the whole portfolio. So this is something I just needed to draw your attention to. So you need to search.
Excuse me, Doctor.
Yes, Mushir, I got you. I saw that you're raising your hand. So yes, Mushir.
Yeah. I don't talk about the rubric. There's 3 parts in the portfolio. With one of them is a reflection for students and a video of the students. So I don't get it. I get lost actually. I need to applying what my this project on a student, real student.
No. He is just telling you that this is a case study, actually, that talks about a project that the student did for over 2 weeks. They were studying this civilization and how he, for example, was working on developing codes, code of laws and all of that. And then they were integrating these subjects together: history, social studies, technology, and language arts. And at the end, the students needed to submit these products, put them in a portfolio. So the question is, briefly, what is the rubric to assess the portfolio?
I designed the rubric.
Exactly. You will design a rubric, but the rubric is not for assessing the video, and the rubric is not for assessing the essay, and the rubric is not for assessing the reflection paper.
The 3 of them.
The portfolio at large. Okay.
What about week 4? This 2 weeks, 3, 4, 5, right?
Yeah, there are tasks, of course, that you are going to carry out still.
Yes. Okay.
But if you do have questions, let me know. I personally don't find any problems related to these weeks. Okay, so if you yes.
Can you give us an example for the criteria which will be in this rubric?
Search for rubrics for assessing portfolios. And I just needed best to clarify the fact that you are not going to develop a rubric just to assess the video, or a rubric to assess the essays.
Already we have in the STEM, we have our rubric for portfolio. So, but the new thing is this portfolio for more than one thing, not for it's okay. I will find it.
Search, you will find a lot of samples. Don't worry. Don't worry. Okay. So Bushira, do you have questions related to any of the other tasks? Okay, I think that as you know. So you can easily progress as a portfolio for what? So why don't you read the task and tell me what is the portfolio for? Hanan. Okay. And as you go through the tasks, it's going to be to get easier till you reach week 6, because most of the tasks, as you may see, are actually individual reflections or individual work, except for some tasks in which, again, you're going to work in pairs or in groups. Okay, so you have everything set till week 6, and I do understand that you had like your own reasons for not having us meet on Saturdays, which I fully understand. So accordingly, our next meeting is going to be on June 8th, which is the end of week 5, okay? And in June 8th, we're going to meet. So just in case you have any questions related to what was previously covered or what is next to come, okay?
Could I ask a question, Doctor,
yes,
please?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. Why we jump for weeks 5 or 6? This week we have to do week 3 and 4. We won't have. Is that mean that we?
And I can't hear. You're saying we were jumping, and then this week we'll have to do week 3 and 4. Yes.
Yeah. Why we jump to week 5 and week 6?
Yeah, because if you want to move ahead, it's up to you. Because some projects are individual projects. So if you want to finish your pair work and group work and move ahead, it's up to you.
The question is, we want to have a meeting next week, next Saturday, or not?
No, I'm not going to meet with you Saturday, but I'm going to meet with you Tuesday after.
Yeah, thank you, doctor.
Because you requested, or you think that Saturday doesn't work well with your plans, right?
Okay.
And that's why I'm moving ahead, just to share with you what's coming next. Week 3 actually starts today, by the way. Okay?
Okay.
Week 4 would be next Tuesday, week 5 next Saturday. And that's why I discussed the case study related to the rubric on the portfolio.
Okay.
Yes,
Right?
but the deadline for week 3 is 5 June. The deadline.
Yeah, because we have time. But that doesn't mean that you don't work on the rest of the materials related to the other weeks.
Yes, yes. We can finish week 4.
Yes, and you
So
can
we can,
finish ahead,
we can-
actually.
Yes, yes, okay. For week 5, okay.
That's why
Okay.
I'm covering till week 5, because I'm not going to meet with you next Saturday, but Tuesday after. That's
Yes,
it.
yes.
And still, if you have questions, you can simply email me or ask me for problems, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
okay. Okay.
Questions so far? Okay, so if you don't have any, Hanan, I'm still waiting for your comment about the portfolio. So if you don't have any questions, please feel free to go. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
If we during the week when you're working on it, can facing some problem